that did it. Maybe it was the weed, or the champagne, or the fact that I was having this deep-ass conversation about my tainted husband with a man who shared his name, but the tears came out of nowhere. Big, messy, uncontrollable. I rushed to stand up, panicked, ready to hide in his bathroom, but Josh reached for my hand and stopped me. "You don't gotta hide," he said softly. "I've been there before. We all have." He pulled me back down beside him and handed me a tissue. The tenderness in his voice made the tears fall even harder. "I'm sorry." So I took my big sister's advice, her freak pad, her cold honesty, and my cold heart right back to the home I shared with the man I used to love. At first, everything about it felt strange, like I had one foot planted in the life of a wife and a mother, and the other foot dangling off the edge of a reckless world of sex, drugs, and borrowed freedom. But I kept it together. I kept that freak pad tucked deep inside a box in our closet, the one box Jay would never touch, and I only used it when he was out on runs. Not long after coming home, I found a new piece of candy named Tay. He was tall, overly muscular, wildly tatted, the kind of man who looked like sin but talked like salvation. On our first call, he answered the phone like he'd been expecting me all his life. "What's up, babe?" he said, voice deep, raspy, and dipped in a thick accent. Now, if there's one thing I loved more than a deep voice, it's a raspy one with a little grit on it. And Tay had both. He told me he moved to the Bay for work, that he owned a tattoo shop, and that he'd love to give me a couple tattoos. Said my vibe was pure. If only he knew how impure my thoughts were at that point. I took him up on that offer, and our first meeting was at his shop, where he employed only black artists. The vibe was intense but enjoyable. Even though he didn't allow drinking or smoking in the shop, everyone there felt free, bold, uninhibited, yet somehow grounded. I'd never been in the presence of so many creatives. Seeing Tay in his element, quiet but commanding, hands steady, eyes focused, did something to me I wasn't prepared for. He gave me a tiny red heart tattoo, said he wanted me to think of him every time I saw it. And damn if he didn't know exactly what he was doing. Later, we chilled in his car outside his house and just vibed. We talked about everything. Love theories, different religions, sexual positions that deepen connection. I'd always been intellectual, but Jay hated going deep, so I learned to shrink myself for him. Keep my thoughts simple and digestible. But between Chris's witty flirting and Tay's warm, fulfilling conversation, I was starting to see the truth. Me and Jay never really had anything in common, not in the ways that mattered. One night, Tay invited me to an art exhibit one of his artists was hosting. She created a whole series on soulmates, and he knew I'd love it based on my theory from our first meeting. He picked me up in his metallic blue old school car, and the whole ride we talked about soulmates like we were unraveling the secrets of life itself. When we arrived, he walked me to the first painting in the series. Two shadow-like figures shaped like puzzle pieces, each in different environments, each holding a flame inside them. By the last piece, the two shadows finally reached each other, and the flame was so big it almost consumed them both. We walked from one painting to the next, our conversations getting deeper, warmer, more intimate. "It's crazy how that flame, that passion, goes dull," Tay said, all from the pain of feeling like you'll never find the one you meant for. Your soulmate is supposed to awaken you, but can't manifest them until you awaken yourself. It's such a paradox. I stepped closer to the ninth piece and shook my head. I don't think the fire dims because of pain or discouragement. I think it dims from the ache of knowing they're out there without knowing anything about them at all. Tay sipped his champagne, eyes locked on me. "But how many heartbreaks can you survive before you give up?" "Oh, but heartbreak is the journey," I said, walking him over to the last two paintings. "The flame dims because both souls are tired, weary, drained. The search is daunting, but your soulmate, they're the recharge station. If you're never empty, what is there to refill? You can't appreciate the good without surviving the worst, because nobody can love you like the one who was carved for you, and everybody else can only hurt you. Tay stepped back and gave me a look I'd never seen from a man before. Like he wasn't just looking at me, he was seeing me. I threw my hands up dramatically, dancing to the music like I knew I'd just made my point. He laughed and joined me, doing this cute little two-step by my side. The host noticed us vibing and turned the music up louder, inviting everyone else on the floor. Tay set his drink down, grabbed my waist, and kissed me. Soft, but certain, intentional, like he had been waiting 2 weeks to do it. I kissed him back, because I was waiting too. We didn't make it to his place. We found a cozy unisex bathroom upstairs. No stalls, just a couch and a sink, and the chemistry did the rest. Our conversations had already preheated every inch of me, so when he pulled me close, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. The way he touched me was slow, attentive, like he cared more about the experience than the act. We were as quiet as we could be, but every now and then a sound slipped out from either of us, especially when we both reached our peak. Tay was a gentleman from beginning to end. He asked for consent, checked my comfort every time he changed the pace, and even cleaned me up after, with this soft grin that made me blush like I was 16 again. I panicked for a moment, thinking everyone must have heard us. But when we stepped out, I realized nobody even noticed we'd been gone. The music was loud, the energy high, and for once, I didn't feel guilty for choosing excitement. Leaving Tay that night felt like stepping out of a different universe, one where men listened, touched gently, asked permission, and actually wanted to understand me. A universe I didn't know existed, let alone one I deserved to be in. But the moment I got back home, reality snapped me right out of that dream. The house smelled like Jay had been smoking inside again. The kids' toys were scattered everywhere, even though they'd been at daycare. His shoes were in the middle of the damn floor, just like always. And the silence, the heavy, suffocating silence, reminded me exactly why I had left in the first place. It was wild how one night of being seen could make you realize how invisible you'd been for years. I showered, washed the scent of Tay's cologne off my skin, but somehow it lingered. Not the smell, but the feeling, the soft, the safe, the feeling of being wanted. I wasn't falling for Tay. I wasn't falling for any of them. I was falling for the version of myself I got to be when Jay wasn't around. And that version, she was hungry, curious, awake. Dream texted me the next morning like she had a direct line to my subconscious. You ready for the next assignment? I rolled my eyes, smiling despite everything. Assignment. That's exactly what this was. A mission to remember who the hell I was before survival replaced my personality. Who is it this time? I asked, half joking, half serious. She sent a photo. Tall, smooth brown skin, clean fade, deep dimples, and a smile that looked like it hid more secrets than a diary. Then she sent the name, Josh. I stared at my screen, realizing I wasn't even shocked. Life had a funny way of throwing mirrors in your face until you finally look. Dream followed with another message. Don't think about your husband. This one is different. Trust me. I leaned back on the bed, clutching my phone, letting the picture stare right into me. Tay had awakened something. Chris had cracked the door, but this new Josh, from the look in his eyes alone, I knew he was going to blow something wide open. And the crazy part, I wasn't scared. Not even a little. Because at this point, fear wasn't leading me. The thrill was. I exhaled and typed the only reply that made sense. Set it up. And just like that, I was on to the next man with the same name as the one I married, but had a completely different purpose in my life. So you waited till your 30s to rebel? Josh laughed as he rubbed my feet. We were in his high-rise, sipping champagne after eating at one of the most expensive restaurants in San Francisco. Floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights glowing beneath us, the kind of view that made you forget your problems for a second. I didn't have the chance to do it earlier, I said, puffing the blunt before passing it to him. Met Jay at 15, had my first child at 18. I didn't get to have much of a life. Josh took a slow drag and exhaled like my confession settled in his chest. Damn, he said, brows lifting. I would have fucked that up in the first couple months. How did you last that long? He was talking about my loyalty to Jay, and the question hit harder than I expected. Something in me cracked because I did stay faithful to a man who wasn't loyal to me. for years. And hearing it out loud made the ache in my heart throb awake again. Love, I whispered, voice trembling at the truth I never wanted to face. Josh nodded slowly, puffing the blunt, his eyes softening like he understood the whole story without me saying another word. We take a lot of pain just to feel the love of the one who hurts us the most, he said, placing the blunt gently against my lips before returning to my feet. I get it. I'm sorry, I said, blowing my nose. I don't mean to kill the vibe. No more from me, I guess. I pushed the blunt away with a shaky laugh. Don't apologize for being soft, he said. I love being around women. Emotions come with the territory. He passed the blunt back, and even though I didn't take it, the gesture alone felt like comfort. I didn't know how to take his kindness, but I let it sit between us like a warm blanket. So I put my feet back on his lap, and he kept rubbing them like it was nothing. Like my tears didn't scare him. Like my story didn't overwhelm him. Like my broken pieces weren't too sharp for his hands. Once my emotions settled, he put on a movie. But we never watched it. Somewhere between the flashing disco lights bouncing off the walls and the soft rhythm of the soundtrack playing behind us, we ended up on the floor, lost in each other's arms. His touch was strong but steady, his body warm against mine, and the room spun with color and weed smoke and desire. My breath caught with every slow press of his hips, every kiss along my neck, every moment with pleasure spilled into the empty places Jay had left inside of me. I peaked more than once, my pulse racing, my body trembling beneath the weight of something that felt like release and revelation all at once. The smell of weed, the warmth of his rough hands on my neck, the thrill of him inside me. It all blended together until I wasn't just escaping. I was remembering what it felt like to feel alive. But after that night with the other Josh, I told Dream I needed to take a break. The breakdown I had in that man's arms, a man who shared a name with my husband, shook something loose inside me. He was nice about it, kind even. But I didn't know if the next man would be. I wasn't trying to fall apart in front of everybody with a beard and a pose. Any contact I give you might be ready to get it in, but they are all emotionally intelligent, considerate, and cool as hell. Josh wasn't even tripping. He said he wanted to see you again. I know. I sighed, but I didn't like the way it felt. Girl, when you deal with men who like women, like actually like them, it's a whole different experience. Trust me, I'm learning that. I admit it. Even though you said none of them cared what I had to say, most of them did. I'm not used to that either. Dream smirked, flipping her locks over her shoulder. Well, maybe that was how I approached it. And I got the same energy back. But you're different, TT. And I love that about you. And apparently, they do too. Because they all been asking to see you again. She leaned in closer, eyebrows raised, lips curling into that mischievous smile she saved for good tea. And Kahlil is dying to meet you still. My heart did a stupid little flutter, the kind I pretended I didn't feel. Dream slid the iPad toward me like she was offering me a contract with the devil, or the love story I didn't know was waiting. He looked kind of like Tay, tall, smooth, handsome, but older, with no tattoos and a softer, wise-looking face. Something about his eyes felt familiar, like he had already seen a version of me I hadn't shown anyone yet. As long as his middle name isn't Josh, I joked, pretending to glance away as I gave my sister the go-ahead. She squealed like she had been waiting her whole life for this moment. And just like that, without realizing it, I said yes to meeting the man I'd eventually fall in love with. Dream's house always smelled like freshly fried chicken, shea butter, and money. The kind of place that made you feel safe enough to laugh, but classy enough to hide your insecurities. She had the music low, good R&B humming through the speakers, and a spread on the table like she was hosting a baby shower for Beyonce. Wings, sliders, fruit trays, tequila lined up like soldiers. Dream did not play when she had company. It was supposed to be a small kickback, but really, it was a setup. Dream's favorite hobby. It was just me, her, one of her male friends, who looked like he sold mortgages and dreams, and then him, Kahlil. The moment Dream opened the door for him, the air shifted. He stepped in slow, like he was making sure he had the right house or the right universe. Tall, smooth brown skin, soft eyes, beard trimmed like he took pride in being fine. He looked exactly like his picture, but better, realer, more felt. He swallowed hard when he looked at me, and I tried my best not to show how that affected me. Dream smirked, catching it immediately. I shot her a look. She ignored it. Y'all good? She asked, pretending to be innocent as she poured drinks. Kahlil nodded too fast, almost dropped his keys. Yeah, I'm good. I'm straight. But his eyes were all over me, respectfully, like he'd been waiting on this moment longer than he could admit. We all sat in the living room. Dream and her friend on one couch, me and Kahlil on the other. My heart was doing that annoying flutter again, and I hated that he could probably feel the heat coming off my skin. Dream passed me my drink and whispered dramatically loud. So, do you want to know what I told him about you? I glared. Dream, don't do this. Kahlil chuckled under his breath, low and nervous. Nah, I kind of want you to hear this too. Rubbing his hands together like he was scared I'd confirm some wild story. Dream grinned like the devil himself. Relax. I didn't tell him nothing crazy. Just that you're gorgeous, emotional, deep as hell, and a hopeless romantic with a splash of danger. My mouth fell open. Why would you say all of that? Because it's true. Dream shrugged. Kahlil's smile softened, shy, almost boyish. He looked at me like he'd just found something rare. I mean, she wasn't wrong, he said quietly. Dream fanned the air dramatically. He was cheesing hard as hell, girl. Talking about, damn, she pretty. She deepened her voice to mock him, which made him hide his face in his hands. Kahlil laughed at my sister's impression of him, but his voice cracked just enough for me to know he meant every word. I took a sip of my drink to hide my smile. So you were nervous? I asked softly. He looked up at me, eyes steady now. Still am, he admitted. You walked in here looking like trouble, the good kind. My breath caught. Dream squealed behind her cup. Her friend chuckled, shaking his head like he just witnessed a moment he wasn't supposed to see. The music shifted to an old-school slow jam. The lights dimmed, the kind of way only Dream's house knew how to do. And suddenly the whole room felt like it was watching us. Not loudly, not obviously, but enough. Kahlil leaned back, exhaled like he'd been holding his breath since he arrived. I'm glad you came tonight, he said softly. Me too, I whispered. Dream caught that whisper and literally kicked my foot under the table like, act normal. But it was too late. Something between me and Kahlil had already sparked. Quiet, steady, unavoidable. And everyone in that room felt it. I couldn't stop smiling, and neither could he. We talked about everything one could think of that night. He had 2 sons and a turtle. No prior marriages. One really long-term relationship. Both parents deceased. A sister he was really close to, but besides her, he didn't have much family. He grew up bouncing from home to home until he turned 16 and got a job so he could get his own place. That was where he met the mother of his 2 sons. He ran a moving company that was pretty successful, based out of San Francisco, where he also lived with his kids. We connected over the fact that the partners we had kids with were our first and only serious relationships. And coincidentally, they both did us wrong. His former partner had spent the entire relationship cheating and had left when she got pregnant by someone else. Told him he could have the kids they had together because the new man didn't want them. He had been through the ringer with her and still managed not to be bitter about love. And although the story was messy, he spoke of her in a kind manner. Like he understood her wounds were what got in the way. Not like she was the monster she sounded like. And I liked that. Most men who got burned in love had a hardness in their eyes, a resistance to opening up again. But I didn't see that in him. I saw a man who had been hurt, but was still open to love. I was hesitant to get involved with him, though, because Jay and I were still legally married, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to leave or if I just wanted to get Jay back. I didn't want to hurt him any more than he had already been hurt. He understood that, thanked me for being honest, and offered to start with friendship. I accepted, because he was the first man I felt like I could actually be friends with. Dream and her friend had been in the back having an adult situation in her bedroom for a long time. She was surprised to see us still sitting on the couch, very cozy, chatting the night away. "Y'all still talking?" she asked, scratching her head as she closed her robe and sat down. "What a waste of a good night," she said playfully, slapping Kahlil on the knee. "Nowhere near a waste," he replied. "Not at all," I added. She sat back, looked at him, then looked at me and smiled like she already knew this could only turn out one way. She nodded as she began gathering cups and bottles. "Well, I hope you two have fun, but don't hurt my sister or I'm going to have to cut you," she joked, only half joking, before heading back to her room. The sound of her slippers scraped down the hallway as the lights clicked off. "Make sure you lock up before you leave, T," she called. Then her door closed. Kahlil offered to walk me to my car, but I told him I was spending the night. The nanny and Jay had the kids, and I didn't feel like pretending with my husband tonight. For once, I just wanted to be me. So I walked Kahlil out to his car, locked the door behind him, and crawled into Dream's plush guest bed, my mind louder than the house had just been. The next morning, I woke up to Jay banging on my sister's door like the damn cops. Dream and her friend rushed from the back, concerned and ready. Dream held her gun close while her friend went to open the door. "Can I help you?" he asked through the cracked door. "Who the fuck are you?" Jay growled as he tried forcing it open. But Dream's friend had a firm grip and didn't let the door move, not even an inch. I heard that long inhale, the one with no exhale, the one that always came before somebody, usually me, got hurt. But his voice stayed controlled. "I'm looking for my wife," he said forcefully, trying to nudge the door open again. Her friend refused to budge. He looked to Dream for permission and she nodded. He opened the door and Jay gave him an unfriendly stare down as he stepped inside and walked toward my sister. Dream lifted her gun and aimed it straight at his chest with a cold look. "Tell me why you don't know where my sister is, Jay," she said, pressing the gun into his body. I watched through the crack in the guest room door across from the living room. Jay gave her that cheesy, fake smile, pretending to be that sweet boy he hadn't been in a long time. "She said she was going to dinner with you and a friend," he said calmly. "And what happened last month?" she asked, referencing the day I came to her house crying after finding out Jay had a baby with Janine. "We got into a fight," he lied, way too smoothly. She wasn't having it. She pressed the gun deeper into his chest and leaned closer to his face. "Be careful how you treat my family. You're not the only crazy person in her life with a gun," she said, tapping the side of his head with the gun before lowering it. "We go way back, Dream. I don't want no trouble with you. I'm just trying to find my wife," he said, backing up. "I can't help you with that," she replied, signaling him to the door. "I told you Dream did not play about me, and I knew she was going to make him pay for what he'd done to me. I got you," he said, walking out. I was shocked that he gave in so easily. He'd been terrorizing me for years, so seeing him back down from Dream made me giggle a little. Once he left, Dream came into the room where I was hiding and told me what happened. I pretended I didn't see anything, said I was sleeping off a hangover from last night, but I enjoyed that show more than she knew. "Just be careful when you go back," she said. "Tell him you were laid up in the back and you didn't feel good." I left my sister's house and rehearsed my lie the whole drive, just like she told me to. When I got there, Jay was in the bedroom, waiting. I arrived home around 2 hours after the incident with Dream. I walked through the door and met Jay in the bedroom, and that's when I realized I was walking straight back into the fire. When I walked into the bedroom, Jay was sitting at the edge of the bed with his elbows on his knees, head down, quiet. Too quiet. That was always worse than yelling. "Where you been?" he asked without looking up. I slipped my shoes off slowly. "Dreams," I said. "I told you that." "You told me you was going to dinner," he said flatly. "You ain't tell me you wasn't coming home." I fell asleep. I didn't feel good. He finally looked at me then. His eyes were thin, calculating, silent like he was stacking weapons in his head. "You ain't called me once," he said. "All night." I shrugged. "My phone died." That's when he smiled. A slow, crooked smile that made my stomach drop. "It's crazy," he said calmly. "How you only disappear when you're trying to be seen by somebody else." My chest tightened. "I wasn't with nobody." "That's funny," he said, standing up now, "because everything in me says you was." I tried to step around him toward the dresser, but he shifted and blocked my path. I had to make a decision while you was gone," he continued. My heart started racing. What decision? He tilted his head like he was thinking about it all over again. I dropped the kids off at my parents' house this morning. Relief hit me first, until he kept talking. I told them you been running the streets, acting like you don't got no responsibilities. Told them you ain't been acting like no mother. My throat dried instantly. They don't even know where you been at, he said. So I let them step in. My hands shook. What do you mean, step in? I mean, I gave them the kids, he said. Full time. For now. The room tilted. You what? I whispered. You heard me. I reached for my phone without thinking. He slapped it out of my hand so hard it hit the wall and cracked. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot. You're not calling nobody, he warned. Not right now. My hands trembled at my side. Jay, please don't do this. I didn't do nothing to those kids. You did something to me, he snapped quietly. And when you do that, you forget. I don't just punish you. He stepped closer. I punish everything you love, too. My knees felt weak. You think I don't see you pulling away? He continued. You think I don't feel you leaving me right in my face? I'm still here, I whispered. Yeah, he said, but your mind ain't. Silence fell heavy between us. I can undo it, he said finally. All of it. My chest heaved. Undo what? I can bring them back, he said. Right now. Hope surged through me so fast it made me dizzy. Please. Yes, please. His eyes locked into mine. But you gotta act like you want your family. I swallowed hard. And you gotta stop disappearing, he continued. Stop acting like you got somewhere better to be. I nodded slowly. And you gotta come lay down with your husband, he finished. My stomach churned. Now, every part of me shrank inward. I hated him in that moment more than I ever had. But the thought of my babies, confused, scared, thinking their mama didn't want them, it broke me open. So I complied. Not because I wanted to, but because I had no choice. And as I laid there beside him, stiff and silent, staring at the ceiling while he held me like he owned me, I realized something dangerous had finally snapped inside of me. Not fear, not love, resentment. And resentment is what turns a woman truly reckless. After that night, I straightened up fast. Too fast. Jay watched every move I made like I was a loose thread in his favorite sweater. So I complied harder. Cooked more, smiled more, stayed home more. Answered every call, every text. And when Dream called me the first time after that night, I lied. I can't come out no more, I told her, my voice low and rushed. I gotta chill. She was quiet on the other end for a second. Why you sound like you whispering? She asked. I'm just tired, I said too quick. I'm done with the dates for now. I just need peace. She didn't buy it. You don't sound peaceful, TT, she said. I'm fine, I lied again. I'll call you later. But I didn't. For days. I told myself I could handle it, that I'd stay quiet, stay smart, stay alive. I straightened up, played my role, answered his calls, smiled like nothing was wrong. I dodged her calls like they were police sirens. I texted excuses, fell asleep early, stayed busy, everything but the truth. And then there was a knock at the door. Not soft, not polite, purposeful. I opened it, and Dream stood there, eyes sharp, scanning the room. I froze when I saw her through the window. She walked in like she owned the place. No fear and no hesitation, just straight through the front door with that I don't play about my sister energy. Where is he? She asked. My mouth opened, but no sound came out.
Keep my hand in the fire. Won't learn my lesson till I let it burn, but never lose my desire. Had it from the moment that I felt my first love. I knew I'd never get enough of you. I'll take the risk like I'm bulletproof. Shots in my heart, but it bleeds the truth. tattoo. I'll always have you. Ooh, like a tattoo. Just like a tattoo. I'll always have you. My inhibitions fade away. Can't think with my head, my gut won't let me change. Try to deny, but you beg me to taste. If I end as the loser, it'd be worth the game. Cause I can never get enough of you. I'll take the risk like I'm bulletproof. Always on my heart like a tattoo. A part of every little thing I do. Like a tattoo. I swear every time is the last time I let you get up under my skin. I wanna let the ink dry, but wanna try till it's right. Here we go again. If I am love and love is I need you more than I would admit. Please be kind to me, baby. Like a weapon, you slay me forever. Connected like a tattoo. Just like a tattoo. I'll always have you. Ooh, love's a tattoo. Ooh, oh, just like a tattoo.